History Unmasked, Adrian. We're on episode 3. This is, it's one of these where I hope that this is as fun for you as it is for me, because I like digging into history now. I didn't always,
Right.
but I enjoy it. Well, I enjoy digging into an unbiased history and then gathering my own opinion versus someone telling me things like Columbus discovered this country or, the president cares for you or whatever the fuck they tell me. Anyways, the government has your best interest in mind.
I don't think they taught that the president fucking cares for you in school.
Yeah, but they do tell you the government has your best interest at heart, and I probably feel like that's a lie.
Yeah.
So anyways, History Unmasked, episode 3. We're calling this episode, Adrian, Merchants of Death. We talked about the black can last week. We talked about the fucking guy at the sandwich shop that sparked World War I. So what's happening right now, August of 1914, they were having a parade before.
No, go.
Oh, they're having a parade. They're partying in Paris, in Berlin, in London. Everybody's excited. The crowds are singing in the streets. Soldiers are marching proudly. Flags are waving. They're drinking champagne. Women are throwing flowers in the crowd. Kids are cheering. Newspapers are screaming, home by Christmas. So last week was talking about how World War I was almost pitched as they almost treated it like we're going to the Olympics and shit.
Right.
We're going to compete against some other countries, we'll all be back by Christmas. It's August. We're going to a world war and we're going to be back by Christmas.
But yeah, I think, like you said last week, I don't think people really understood what world war means or war on that level.
Not at all. No one's afraid, dude. They think they're going out for a fucking adventure. The churches didn't help. Well, they did, I guess, depending what side you're on. They called it divine destiny. So in Germany, they say God stands with the Kaiser. In France, they say God stands with the Republic. In Britain, they say God stands with the Empire. Everyone got the same God. We're just wearing different uniforms at this point, right? Nobody knows yet, but they literally signed up for hell. They're being paraded. I mean, it's what a ruse, right? You're thinking, we're just going to go and fucking, we're going to go push around the German or whatever. It's going to have a fucking, a fake sword fight or something.
Right. You're going to push a cube of ice down a lane with a broomstick.
Yes. They thought it was curling. But within months, the cheering stopped. Machine guns were erasing generations in seconds. Dude, it was the technology that they had at this war compared to the last time there was a big war was night and day, dude. Artillery shells, gas burning men's lungs, people being gassed. Speaking of Hitler was gassed. We were talking about him being a messenger. He was injured twice during this war. In the last one, he actually got gassed. Too bad they didn't fucking gas him a little bit more, Trenches were filled with mud, rats, and corpses. A lot of trench fighting in World War I. People would die. They didn't you didn't call the coroner to come pick them up. The bodies are just there in the fucking trenches decomposing. Europe, I guess, expected a gentleman's duel. We're fencing. Fucking get out there and click the fucking sword. Oh, you got me. Instead, it was a fucking slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
By the winter of that year, the optimism that everybody had is now dead. The world's first modern war is here. It's not about courage or honor. It was about supply chains, coal, steel, bullets, bread, and blood. And in America, Adrian, there's one motherfucking man getting ready to sell it all. Any guess who that man is?
No.
No. Well, I'm going to tell you what. His name is J.P. Morgan. He is the quartermaster of the apocalypse. When the war starts, Britain and France, they're broke. They can't fund it alone. J.P. Morgan, in 1915, his bank becomes the exclusive purchasing agent for Britain and France. Now, here's the fucked up part. Well, one of the fucked up parts. U.S. isn't involved in the war right now.
Correct.
So y'all are all having this war overseas. And one thing about war is you need money to go to war, right? If you're broke, you can't really go to war.
Right.
You need money. So he is their financial agent. Every bullet, every boot, every fucking ship, shovel, whatever the fuck comes through him. He's their financial agent. He raised billions in U.S. loans to keep the war going. So it's also, he's on the hook too. He's loaning out money.
Sure.
With the idea, the plan that when this is all said and done, you're going to pay me back with interest. Okay. At one point, JP Morgan's bank controlled over half of all the Allied spending in America.
So hold on. So you go to a country which may not exist after the fighting starts, and loan them things with the promise to pay back after.
Yes.
So you're taking a huge risk.
You are.
Because like I said, the first sentence was the country might not exist.
Correct.
After this.
Yes.
That's crazy.
But I think you also know what you have kind of at your disposal. You have the U.S. Well, the U.S. isn't involved yet. Yet. If World War I was a movie, JP Morgan would be like the executive producer. He's behind the scenes. He ain't in the fucking battle, but he's orchestrating shit behind the scenes.
Do you think Wakanda has some secret allies, going back behind the scenes, going in there?
I don't think so. I think they were on their own. So his strategy was he knew that as long as the allies fight, he profits. But here's to your point: if they lose, his loans collapse. So what did he do, Adrian? He starts shaping public opinion. They didn't have Neuralink back then, but he had a major controlling stake in most of the American newspapers, over 25 of them. Those papers start pumping out pro-Allied headlines and anti-German propaganda. So he's like, my money's tied up overseas. I need the Allies to win. America has a badass fucking military, even at this time. If I can sway public opinion to be on the side of the Allies, eventually we're going to go to war. America's going to help the Allies win, and then I get my money. Pretty smart guy, huh?
Yeah.
So this is the story they start telling. Germany's the aggressor. The Allies are the defenders of civilization. And America is basically the savior. They're going to come in and save everybody. And then religion, they chime in again, because why not? They called the war it's a war for freedom and faith. But it's really just like for economics. Like it's a war for profit. All right, the turning point. Lusitania. Is that how you say that shit? Lusitania. The turning point. May 7th of 1915. There's a British passenger ship, Lusitania. Maybe that's how you say it. It's sailing from New York to Liverpool, and a German U-boat spots it, fires one torpedo.
Lusitania.
Lusitania?
Yeah.
A German U-boat spots it. What the fuck's a U-boat? You're a Navy guy.
Submarine.
It's a submarine. Okay. Why do they call it a U-boat?
It's an underwater boat. It basically sank beneath the surface.
Okay.
And so it was
not as deep as a submarine.
Not as deep as a submarine. It basically sank beneath the surface.
Yep.
So you can only see like the periscope or some shit if you're actually looking for it. But of course, you're not going to see a stick in the water as opposed to a ship.
So the Lusitania, that's what you said?
Lusitania.
The U-boat shoots one torpedo. The ship explodes. It sinks in less than 20 minutes. Almost 1,200 people dead. 128 of them are Americans. Everybody's horrified by this. Newspapers plastered everywhere. Here the titles are German monsters kill innocents. Mothers and children drown in cold blood. The thing about that, though, is the headlines kind of skip over something. Lusitania wasn't just carrying passengers. It was secretly loaded with ammunition and explosives. Part of the supply network Morgan's banks helped finance. Germany even published warnings in U.S. papers before the ship left. Still it sails, and when it goes down, it gives Morgan and the Allies exactly what they needed: public outrage. Damn. So, typical shit, right? We're going to put this boat out there. We're sending ammunition over there. We're not in the war at this point, but we're getting involved. I would argue that we're getting involved, right? We're going to send our ammunition over on this boat. The Germans warned us not to because now you're fucking getting into our shit. We put it out there. They shoot one torpedo, blows it up because it's a violation of what they fucking asked us not to do. Okay. And then we lie and say it was innocent people on there where this is casualty of war. We're sending ammunition.
They were innocent. The people that were the people that were there.
Yeah.
But you could spin innocent people as being civilian passengers as opposed to the people driving the boat, driving the explosives.
Yeah, they weren't civilians out fucking fishing.
Right.
You're bringing weapons to the Allies.
Right. And of course, you put explosives on there because you want the show.
Right? There you go.
If a torpedo hits a regular boat, there's going to be explosion from the torpedo.
Right.
But you put explosives on the boat. Now you got a fucking 4th of July out on the ocean.
Right.
Right? Big deal.
Oh, yeah. In this war, dude, there's many sides to this. Every war, there's many sides to it, right? It shapes generations of people. It shapes individuals. It's shaping up JP Morgan to be a much bigger fucking conglomerate. It's also shaping someone by the name of Adolf Hitler, okay? He fights in this war. He spends his early 20s living in Vienna. He's rejected by art school. You know, if that art school would have just fucking let him in.
Right?
Know, like, dude, was this painting that bad?
Right.
I mean, come on, bro.
I mean, you didn't have to be fucking Van Gogh, but
For real.
why you shitting on the man?
Fuck, man. He would have saved a lot of people. He just let this. He just wanted to paint. He just wanted to pull his best Bob Ross impression,
There
you
you
know?
go.
Beat the devil out of it. He just wanted to do some of that. He's rejected by art school. He's sleeping in shelters. He's selling postcards to survive. He's butthurt, Adrian. He's bitter. He's angry. He's obsessed with nationalism and anti-Semitic politics. So he blames it on the Jews. These motherfuckers overseas, bro. Whatever happens, they just somehow blame on the Jews, you know? So the war breaks out. He's happy, dude. He called it a cleansing moment. He feels like he's part of something bigger. He joins the German army as a messenger. It's a dangerous job. He fights in a handful of different battles. He gets wounded twice. He earns the Iron Cross for bravery. I think he's one of the only fucking messengers or a few messengers to win that Iron Cross medal. Okay. For 4 years, he lives in trenches. And then when Germany surrenders in 1918, it breaks him. He's literally crying in a hospital bed. He felt betrayed. And then he convinces himself that Germany didn't lose the war. There was a whole conspiracy theory on this too back then, that Germany didn't lose. It was betrayed by the Jews and corrupt politicians, which obviously then led to the World War II conflict, right? So JP Morgan comes out of this richer than a motherfucker, and Hitler comes out of this more butthurt than ever before. All from the same war, Adrian.
Well, I mean, most of the villains in Gotham was a result of Batman coming to existence.
There you go.
So JP Morgan, I'm not saying he's a Batman.
No.
And I'm not saying Hitler is the Joker, but they both is a result of this the same point in time.
Yeah. It's just funny too how it was like the perfect storm for this, right? You got the conflict overseas. You got a guy over here who's got the money to fund it. And all of these parties involved are either directly or subliminally relying on religion to move this conflict ahead in a way. The sermons kind of painted this war as good versus evil, God versus darkness, obviously, depending on what side you're on, right? Morgan, he don't need to preach this shit. He lets the religions handle that narrative while he's just balancing the books, pretty much.
Sure.
The phrase is born, merchants of death. By 1916, a few brave journalists and politicians start calling it out. They say the world is being run by merchants of death, arms dealers, bankers, and industrialists who profit from bloodshed. They're mocked at first, but history will pretty much prove them right, because the Great War isn't fought for peace or progress. It was fought for contracts, in a nutshell. This guy had billions up. He don't want to lose. He uses the papers to basically get the U.S. involved.
Right. Which he owned.
Right. He literally is a master puppeteer.
Absolutely.
And the U.S. is just a dumbass puppet in this whole fucking conflict.
Well, when you don't read, when you don't expand beyond your borders, when you don't leave the fucking county that you was born in, right?
Yep.
You live in a microcosm.
Right.
So you're not aware of all the strings to pull, right?
I mean, it's some dirty shit. Like it's not like you didn't know what you were doing. You were doing this almost intentionally.
Well, not almost, definitely intentionally.
Definitely.
Because he had the money, he had access for the travel.
Right.
He had access to the news and the things that were going on. And even though things happen a little slowly as far as communication, the telegraph came at some point,
Right.
the newspapers, you had to wait for people to fucking steamboat across the ocean to get news, things like that. But when you have access to the information, you can get a bigger picture of what's going on. And then you can start figuring out ways to manipulate it. They do that today, just on a microcosmic, on a micro scale, right? So if you can create, even in the communities, if you can create conflict between a couple of major groups in a community, you can benefit from that.
Absolutely.
Right? So people are going to go to jail. So you create jails for them to go into. If you can manipulate the education system, you can starve people of education so they cannot better themselves. So therefore they will turn to crime, which will then feed your jails. And if you can change change medical definitions, you can have that own population to label their own citizens as something that you can then profit from, because like they say in certain communities, they look at third graders and they determine how many they have a bed in prison for every third grader in certain communities. They already know where this thing is going to go. Right. So that's happening now.
Then they send the dare instructor in there to teach you how to get hooked on
drugs.
That.
And if the dare dudes miss you, then the people in the truck come up like, hey, let's fingerprint you, blah, blah, whatever, dude.
Yep. So the merchants of death, that phrase is born. I think it's pretty applicable, dude.
Sure.
I think it makes sense. And the sad part though is it's the human cost, dude. By the end of 1916, Europe is unrecognizable. Entire towns gone.
Yeah.
The empires are gone. 10 million dead, 20 million wounded. But JP Morgan's network is thriving, dude.
Dude, I think those numbers, they don't even know.
Yeah, you think it's a lot more, right?
Yeah.
That's minimally at least 10 million dead. It's a lot of fucking people, bro.
Well, just think about it. Like when you start going through the Bible, remember women and kids weren't even not even mentioned in the Bible stuff, right? So they weren't even considered citizens.
Yep.
So you got shit like that. And how many people does a bomb kill? You don't know.
True.
And they didn't have humanitarian efforts when they were trying to clean up these cities. They just bulldozed this shit out the way, bodies included.
Right. It's interesting too. Like JP Morgan, his power now stretches across. He controls shit here and overseas.
Right.
And then you got Hitler kind of crawling out of the mud. He's angry. He's looking for someone to blame. Like he's angry that the Germans surrendered. He thinks it's bullshit. He thinks it was set up. And that was a big conspiracy back then that a lot of people bought into. They blamed the Jews. And then eventually he used that momentum, that belief, those people to create Nazis and the Nazi Germany that leads to the next major conflict. So one war kind of created two monsters, right? One angry, the other one rich. Right. So Europe's bleeding. Morgan counts his profits. While he's doing that, the foundations of the modern world are being rewritten. The Ottoman Empire is all but fucking gone by this point. Britain and France, and this is what leads to future conflicts here. They're about to carve up the Middle East, divide it up. Because a lot of these, they won, right? So a lot of countries were promised land and things of that nature, right? Hey, you help me defeat this, Adrian, I'm gonna give you this chunk of land over in the Middle East. Sure. Shit we're still seeing to this day with Gaza and pretty soon there'll be a fucking Trump International on the Gaza Strip. The Balfour Declaration was a letter. It's about to redraw history. Basically created the blueprint for Israel, Palestine. in a whole nother century of fucking chaos. So that is this week. That is The Merchants of Death, episode 3. Next week, the war that changed the map. We are going to talk about how the world ended, the empires fell, and the modern Middle East is born from the ashes, which, believe it or not, Adrian, that leads to more conflicts. Can you believe it?
Oh, of course.
So, that was History Unmasked, episode 3. Be back next week for episode 4.